This election changed politics in this country in a way that it hasn't been changed in our lifetime. It was a cultural revolt, and those were the people that are NRA members. They're the people that care about the Second Amendment and their firearms rights. It's about traditional values. It's about all the things that the NRA ad campaign was focusing on.
A man attacked me in a parking garage, tried to stab me with an 8-inch knife, but I carry a pistol. I fight back. Hillary Clinton disagrees with that. Defend your rights. Vote Donald Trump for president.
And this year, the people who shared those values responded in a way that they never have. They don't want a continuation of the policies that they got when they elected Barack Obama. Donald Trump was elected to reverse that legacy.
Rural voters.
That's right, rural and small-town voters in the Midwest, in Pennsylvania, which has more NRA members than any other state, in Michigan, where the opening of the deer season is a state holiday almost, in my native Wisconsin. These are NRA voters.
And no doubt what we saw happen was a rejection by the American people of the political establishment and of the media establishment.
Oh, that's right. This time, you had the New York Times saying reporters had a moral obligation to be in the tank for one of the candidates, that they had to do everything they could to destroy the candidate they didn't like, and they were. These elites for 20 years have been doing this. Hillary Clinton didn't go to Wisconsin. She didn't go to Michigan. She didn't go to those places because the Democratic assumption was that they owned these voters. And the fact is that nobody owns voters on Election Day. If you drove through some sections of the country, as I did recently, there were signs in yards that said proudly deplorable. And the fact is that all of a sudden, all of these people had enough. They've been feeling more left out and more dismissed and more demonized. They can't disagree with you or they're a racist. The voter turnout from these groups was much higher than it usually is. And that changed everything. Republicans held the Senate. They held the House with minimal losses. They only lost 7 seats. They picked up legislatures around the country. They won, for example, the Kentucky Senate, which has been in Democratic hands for almost a century. They have 33 governors and are much stronger than they've ever been. So what Donald Trump was a catalyst.
The NRA endorsed him, and the NRA stood by Trump when everybody else was writing him off.
This time, I think gun owners played a bigger role than at any time in our modern political history, certainly at any time since 2000. And the result is that we have literally a political revolution that took place. Hillary Clinton decided that guns should be on the table, and she put them there.
I will stand up to the gun lobby, and we will fight to get common sense gun safety measures.
The Second Amendment was truly on the table. And when gun owners and sportsmen and people who believe in the Second Amendment, when they know their rights are at risk, they turn out. They get their neighbors to turn out.
Were you surprised to see NBC's Chuck Todd make note of the impact the NRA had?
Donald Trump didn't get a lot of help from major Republican institutions.
With the NRA.
But he did from the NRA, and they came through big. This is a big night for the NRA.
He had to, because it was there. I mean, it's obvious to everyone what happened. And the NRA was there when nobody else was. If Hillary Clinton had won on Tuesday night, she would have appointed someone that would have effectively abolished the Second Amendment by reversing the Heller and McDonald decisions with a new Supreme Court majority. That's not going to happen. If she had been elected, you would have had all kinds of new executive orders and regulations coming out of the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms that would further restrict firearms rights in the country. The Arms Trade Treaty in the UN that at some point she would have, because she was key to getting it negotiated and signed, she would have submitted to a Democratic Senate for approval. That's not going to happen. That does not mean that gun owners get a free ride, because this is not a war that you win, it's a battle that you win.
You see a victory like this. Does it concern you that gun owners would be complacent?
That would be a mistake, a serious mistake. If you want to just get comfortable and sit back, you would have to assume that your opposition was going to just sit back and say, oh, we've lost. They've never said that. Nothing is ever taken care of forever. There is no forever.
Do you really see Bloomberg moving that agenda from state to state?
Yep. Oh, no, they're not going to give up. And we can't give up, because to them it's a religion. As you know, Ginny, I had a book come out this fall called Shall Not Be Infringed, and John Bolton, our former UN ambassador, did the foreword. And he said that these are the domestic analog of the people who believed in the 60s and 70s that if we just unilaterally disarmed, the world would become peaceful. These people actually believed that if they could snap their fingers and make guns disappear, crime would disappear. It isn't true in the world, it isn't true here. And taking away that right is something that should never be allowed, but they're going to keep trying.
What do you think the priorities are for the NRA under a Trump administration?
The chief legislative priority that we've had for many years has been to get reciprocity for concealed carry permit holders on a nationwide basis.
And the chance for national reciprocity greater than ever.
Oh, absolutely. I would be shocked if at some point in the next couple of years we don't get a vote and we don't win it. And then it would go to a Republican president who could sign it.
David, what's the message this election sent?
The message is that the American people still matter. And what this election proved to Americans who may have been losing faith, that by golly, they can still make the final decision. They did it on election day. They didn't stay home. They went out and they fired the people they didn't like and they hired the ones they do like. This election was an affirmation of the vitality of the American democracy. The people spoke and said, we want to restore American values. We want a president, we want a Congress, we want a Supreme Court that'll do that. And we want to keep it that way. So that's key.